Hello everyone. Today I'm talking about planetary combinations that can harm the chart emotionally and psychologically. These are some combinations, it's not all of them, but a few big ones that you should look for when you're counseling someone or you have it in your own chart or whatever the case may be. These are fairly easy, most astrologers know them, most Vedic astrologers know them too. They can really cause some problems in a chart. So I just want to go over this today. And I'm mainly talking about anger issues and depression. So there you go. So the first one is Saturn Mars. Saturn and Mars in the Vedic system are bitter enemies. And they're actually the opposite of each other. Saturn is long-winded perseverance and suffering through things that there's nothing we can do about. We can't fix it. Like when someone dies, we have to just suffer through it. Whatever it is. We get into a car accident and our body is harmed and we're laid up in the hospital. We have to suffer through it and get through it. We can't fix it, right away. Mars is that, what I was just saying. Mars is fixing things right away, finding a solution right away, using your will. So when Mars and Saturn are together or aspecting each other, they're getting in each other's way. Saturn is stifling the will of Mars, and Mars is giving Saturn, making him feel anxious because Mars wants to do something, but Saturn's like, no, you're not doing anything. There's nothing to do. So they get in the way of each other, and they're bitter enemies. So if there's a Saturn-Mars conjunction in a house, conjoined a house cusp, and when I say conjunction, in the Vedic system, a conjunction is two planets in a sign. It doesn't have an orb of influence. Two planets in a sign mean they're conjunct, or 3 planets, 4 planets, whatever it is, they're conjunct. They're in the same sign. So whatever house cusp Saturn and Mars are conjoining, whatever sign that house cusp is in, and they're in that same sign, then that house is going to suffer. Because there's 2 enemies there fighting with each other. So the significations of that house are harmed. Now, if you have Saturn and Mars on angles from each other, meaning if they're opposite each other or they're squared each other, in the 4th and 10th from each other or the 1st and 7th from each other, that also cause anger problems. It won't harm the houses that they're conjoined, but it will give anger problems. They're still getting in each other's way. So if you see that, there's also treat it like a Saturn-Mars conjunction as far as anger issues go. Okay, so the next one. Okay, for an example, Mel Gibson has Saturn-Mars conjunction, and he's known for an explosive temper. Okay, so the next one is Sun-Saturn. Sun-Saturn there's a myth about the Sun and Saturn. Saturn is the son of the Sun in the Vedic system. And there's a myth about it. The Sun gets married to a woman and she can't take his light because his light shines on everything, in even the most darkest parts she wants to keep hidden from him. So she runs away from him. And she tells one of her handmaidens to pretend that she is her, that she is the wife of the Sun. And so this woman, this handmaiden, does that. She pretends to be the Sun's wife. So the Sun has an affair with her, not thinking that she is his wife, but she isn't. And out of that union is born Saturn. So eventually the truth comes to light because it is the Sun. And so the Sun is ashamed of Saturn, of his illegitimate son, and Saturn hates the Sun because of the family situation. So in a lot of systems, especially in like the health systems and in certain in health or medical astrology and other ways too, the Sun and Saturn work together, but they hate each other. So whatever house you have a Sun-Saturn conjunction in, that house will be harmed. Or, you know, you have a Sun-Saturn conjunction conjoined house cusp. Now, the Sun is exalted in Aries. The Sun is all about inspiration. And the Sun wants to do what he's inspired to do. Saturn is all about security and fear. Saturn rules fear of the known. Rahu rules fear of the unknown, but Saturn rules fear of the known. So Saturn is the opposite of the Sun. The Sun wants to do, and to hell with fear. You know, the Sun just wants to do something. Saturn will not, it takes a long time for him to get up and do something. And once he does, he has to make sure that he wants to do it and that he will get something out of it, and that his security, he will feel secure in what he's doing. So these two planets are at odds with each other. Now, also, if you have Saturn in the 10th house from the Sun, that also will harm the confidence. And in a man's chart, it will harm the confidence a little more, just because his masculine energy is based in the Sun. So the 10th house from the Sun and the 10th house from the ascendant in a man's chart will kind of harm the happiness of the man. A man's happiness is based on his ability to do and his confidence and that kind of thing. Now Moon Saturn. Moon Saturn will cause depression. A Moon Saturn conjunction, whatever house, it's not going to really harm the house, but it will cause depression. Just because the moon is the mind in the Vedic system, and whatever planet is with the moon in Vedic astrology is overly emphasized. It's that much more prevalent in the horoscope because the moon is the mind. So your mind is filled with whatever that planet signifies. So Saturn is all about fear, security, you know, insecurities about their hang-ups, their anxieties, their psychological quirks, that kind of thing. So when you see a Saturn-Moon conjunction in a person's chart, they could suffer from depression. And you should counsel them to strengthen the moon. You can do that. I know in Western astrology, they use psychological counseling and that kind of thing, working through it psychologically. In the Vedic system, we use mantras, gems, fasting, donations, that kind of thing. I personally recommend mantras. I think they work extremely well. I've seen it, you know, from my clients and also from myself, how they start to work almost immediately. Because the astrological mantras are in Sanskrit, and it basically will change your consciousness, which is your mind, and the moon, represented by the moon, when you say these mantras. Okay, Saturn in the 4th house. The 4th house is corresponding to the 4th sign of Cancer, ruled by the moon, which is basically the natural 4th house. So whatever's in the 4th house is also like whatever is conjoined the moon. Whatever is in the 4th house is in our mind. It's influences our emotional happiness, our home, our mother, that kind of thing. And so you want to look at both the moon and the 4th house. Now, Saturn in the 4th house can also cause depression. Marilyn Monroe had Saturn in the 4th house. And so, yeah, you want to look for that. It can harm the mother too. So, yeah, that's one. And then, okay, Saturn Rahu. This is a great one. When Saturn Rahu is conjoined, whatever house cusp it is conjoined, when Saturn and Rahu are in the same sign and they're conjoined to house cusp, that's a house the person has to really strive to manifest. They have to work really hard. Rahu is new experiences and things we come here to do. But since we don't have a lot of karma with those experiences, and we don't have a lot of experience with this new phenomena that comes into our life, we don't know what we're doing. And Saturn has a fear about things anyway, and has a lot of psychological hang-ups. So if you have Saturn Rahu in the 4th house, you really have to work at developing your happiness, at developing emotional security, that kind of thing. If you have Saturn Rahu in the 2nd house, you really have to work at developing wealth and developing friendships. Friendships are ruled by the 2nd house in Vedic system. Now, in certain cases, some people will overcompensate where that Saturn Rahu is. So they will go overboard. Let's say if you have Saturn Rahu in the 6th house, that's the house of health. The person will go overboard in, they'll be a fanatic about their health. They won't put anything slightly detrimental to their body. They'll be very strict about it. They'll also go overboard in destroying their enemies, because the 6th house is the house of enemies. So, so they can do either or, but most of it depends on if Saturn is strong. I found if Saturn is in its own signs, like Capricorn and Aquarius, or if it's exalted in Libra, then the person tends to overcompensate. And when we're overcompensating, we're not being ourselves. I mean, we're overcompensating. So, so you try to counsel the person not to overcompensate, but realize that they do have to develop that house. Now, I was born right on the end of having Saturn Rahu in Aries, and that lasted about, so everyone my age and a year and a half older has a Saturn Rahu conjunction in Aries. So I had to really work developing my own wealth. You know, it didn't come until I got a little older. I really had to get in there and think about it. Now, I was born into wealth, but that was somebody else's wealth. That was my parents' wealth. It wasn't mine. So that's another thing in the chart. But when I got out on my own, I really had to develop that wealth, and I really had to make efforts in my friendships to keep friendships. So, so that's kind of how that works. Both of those planets together are, you really have to work at wherever they are. Okay, now, Moon Rahu. Moon Rahu conjunctions are, you know, some people with Moon Rahu conjunctions are kind of quirky, you know, they're definitely a little different. Some of them are very strange, some of them are just a little strange. But Rahu has to develop whatever it's with, so, and it's a very difficult thing to develop the mind. Rahu also rules like ghosts and spirits and witchcraft and that kind of thing. So the person may be really in touch with the world of the dead, or doing seances, or, you know, even practicing witchcraft, whatever, or, you know, being a channeler, that kind of thing. But not all the time. Not all the time. There's other things in the chart that will point in that direction, but definitely a Rahu Moon conjunction. The person's going to be a little quirky, you know, you're going to notice it. Also, women with Rahu Moon conjunctions, the Moon is the most feminine planet. And when Rahu is with the Moon, it projects, Rahu externalizes energy. So whatever planet Rahu is with, he's going to project that energy outward. So when in a woman's chart, when she has a Moon Rahu conjunction, she projects this extremely feminine, vulnerable, sexy persona, and she's very attracted to men. A lot of sex symbols have a Moon Rahu conjunction. For example, Sophia Loren has it, Kim Basinger has it, Veronica Lake had it, Pamela Anderson has it, and Paris Hilton has it. There's a lot of these so-called sex symbols who have this Rahu Moon conjunction, because she just appears very vulnerable and feminine, but she doesn't feel that way inside, because Rahu externalizes the energy. She's trying to develop that, you know, but to other people she appears to be that way. Okay, so and the Moon Rahu conjunction can also cause some depression because of the fear factor. Rahu rules fear of the unknown. So the next one is Oh, Mars Rahu. Mars Rahu people, when Mars Rahu are together, that is a person who has an extreme temper. You don't want to be around when a Mars Rahu person loses their temper. Just because they can't handle, they're trying to develop Mars. And Mars is frustration and anger. So when they get frustrated, it just explodes out all over the place. So that's pretty much a Rahu Mars person. If you see that in a chart, Rahu Mars together, ask that person if they have an explosive temper. Almost every time they will say they do. Okay, so, and the next one is Mars with the moon. Mars with the moon, whatever's with the moon, like I said, is will be overemphasized. Whatever planets with the moon will be overemphasized because it's in the mind. So when Mars is with the moon, the person has very strong opinions about things. Mars is our opinions and convictions about the world and our worldview. And Mars is also anger and frustration. So like John McEnroe has moon Mars. Christian Bale has moon Mars. He's an actor, you know, known for his temper tantrums on the set. So they have that Mars, and they also are very opinionated people. And also if you have Mars in the 4th from the moon, like I said, treat that like a Mars-Moon conjunction. Now, a Mars-Moon conjunction won't harm a house, but it will make the person opinionated and prone to outbursts of anger and frustration. Okay? So what will harm a house are Saturn-Mars conjunctions, Sun-Saturn conjunctions, and Rahu-Saturn conjunctions. Those three right there, if you see those anywhere, will harm the house, that the house cusp, they are conjoined. The other things won't harm, like Moon Saturn won't harm a house, and Rahu Mars won't harm a house, but they will cause problems, you know, as far as anger and depression go. Okay, so that's it for today. I just wanted to talk about that. Some things you can look for in a chart that immediately pop out, and you can ask people about it. Or if it's in your own chart, you can work on it with remedies. You know, like in the Vedic system, we have mantras and fasting and that type of thing, and gems. You can wear gems, or you can work through it psychologically like they do in the Western system. Personally, my favorite are the mantras. I think they work incredibly well. So yeah, check that out if you're interested. Thanks for watching. Bye.